Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Virgo Channel. My name is Laura. I'm new to my channel, and I'm going to do a general message for Virgo. Know that energy is fluid, roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also, know on this channel and all my channels, really, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, to see how they play it as karmic themes, to help you understand why everything's playing out the way that it is, right? Again, because our situations that we go through give us perceptions, right? And those perceptions are about how we feel about ourselves and what we can have, or they distort our perceptions, I should say, about ourselves and the world around us, not just ourselves. And what's bad with that is we all form habits and behaviorisms that support that environment, that imbalanced environment. However, we don't stay in the imbalanced environments, but the habits and the behaviorisms tend to stay. And so that entire thing is what keeps you blocked and blocked in a limited perception and a limited perception about what you can have, what you can't have. And so you may say, well, what does soulmates have to do with that? Well, soulmates come into our life to teach us, and some for a day, some for a season, sometimes for a lifetime, and we never know. But if there's many different realities that play out at one time, it's to know that could it actually work out or could it not? Or if it's that difficult, why is it difficult? And how are we contributing to the imbalances within the situation? Because it's those, again, behaviorisms and habits that are keeping you blocked. This situation with your person is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. The shadows are parts of ourselves that we detach, disassociated from because they don't work. And they mainly don't work because we didn't create them from a balanced place. So you're the alchemist of your life. And again, we always see what this person's going to do and what they are going to do, but I wouldn't just leave it off and say, well, that's what's going to happen, because you can always avoid what's going to happen, you know, especially if you have discernment. Now, I never know why I start my readings off the way that I do. I just kind of let myself channel a little bit to see what comes out. Anything of any importance or relevance, by the way, to the channel, you can find in the description box. And we're going to jump right on in because I'm getting set to get new bracelets from Outer Spirits for a Black Friday sale. So I'm pretty excited about it to give you guys some discounts, but I don't really know anything else amongst that. I don't know what the stones are. I was allowed to say what I wanted. I wanted all abundance, all financial abundance, all prosperity of all type. That's what I ordered. And I feel like Virgos are known to be able to have that energy. But the thing is, they tend to settle for less. All right, let's see what is the underlining energy. The underlining energy is intuition. ESP through the heart and mind is what I'm feeling. So we can feel when someone's around us and we can feel when someone's not around us. Let's see what's going on. Lies and illusions. I feel like you're in connection with somebody, but there's a sense that the trust has been broken. And it's mainly because this person would have been back to you by now. You knew that they were having problems, but what it is that this person's really covering up who they are. So I feel like maybe they presented themselves as someone that was very financially stable, someone that was successful, but they're not. And so again, part of the lie is that. So this person stays detached, acting like they don't care. It's not like they don't care. And I feel like your intuition is still there, almost like you can feel it. This person can feel it. And they still kind of feel like your energy. But it's again, they're trying to intuitively try to figure out what you're going to do. And I say that because I get criticism is on the top of the deck. So again, this person doesn't come towards you because, hey, they don't want you to call them out on what they pretty much already know. And that's the thing is when a person needs healing, and because the same types of karmic experiences play out, well, you better believe that they already know that's what they need to do to heal. Our own intuition leads us to that because of certain people and situations and experiences, like I just said earlier. So I feel like, again, so this person acts like they don't care. They keep the relationship in the place of imbalance because it's control. Disequilibrium is, well, I'm not going to really give it closure. I'm not going to apologize. I'm not really going to say anything because I can't, because otherwise the jig is up. And so if you were dealing with this person a lot, they might have actually came across as very self-righteous. So a person that acts that way, they're again overcompensating that second chakra imbalance for the lack. But is that truly how they feel? Let's see what they truly feel. Because now we know why they did what they did. And remember, it doesn't need to make sense to you. When a person is in their trauma, they're living that reality. It doesn't make sense. You just happen to be the trigger and the trigger to help learn the karmic lesson, right? Otherwise, there would be no point to these situations where spiritual beings having human experiences. I feel like I can be my true self around you. They feel like they can, but are they? Not someone that's in this full control. Hey, Benita, you are the first person to make me feel this way. So I feel like normally that this person would just kind of like give up. The fact that they're so conflicted, and they're conflicted where it's like, I have to expose myself, which I definitely don't want to do because it's again, the fear of how I feel about myself is how everyone's going to perceive me. So I don't really want to let go of that mask at all. However, I'll lose you if I don't. So normally, again, the person wants to do what's easiest. They want to hide behind the mask. And it's just not because of you. Well, because of you, they like you, they want to impress, right? And so that's the thing. They won't. I feel lost without you. Like this person is like, you'd be like, that's the exact opposite energy of what I'm getting. Yes, because this person doesn't really believe that they can have it, Spirit is saying. I get emotional when I think about you. I can't stand the thought of you with someone else. I mean, like this person again has a second chakra imbalance. So I feel like they're becoming very obsessive. They went from one extreme to another. You know that that's a second chakra imbalance. That's the individuality, how the person perceives himself is what's imbalanced. So it's all about control. And they can't control the situation if you see them the way that they feel about themselves. They need to be vulnerable. They need to be transparent. And this person has major intimacy issues because, again, we know that because they run away to avoid facing problems. I mean, literally, like I felt that psychically and I flipped the card over, and that's exactly what it is. I have to feel important. It's like I can't like face my problems. I act like I don't care when deep down I really do. Second chakra imbalance, the emotional center. The emotional center. I can't go with the flow of the relationship because I'm not in the passion for life. I don't like who I am. So I know you won't like who I am. So I'm going to control the situation to make myself feel better about myself. And that'll make you perceive me the way that I perceive me, when that's not the reality. That's how trauma distorts the perception. And what you see here is self sabotaging behaviors. Because the person that doesn't like themselves is going to do that. So that's what you see is I call like a little bit of spiritual disease. And the spiritual disease is a feeling of lack, and a feeling of lack where this person's like, I really can't give enough. See, you can't like me for me. You'd have to like me for what I have and what I do. where that might have been the perception growing up. If they grew up like with parents that didn't have, and those parents didn't like themselves, and they're viewing everyone to not like them because they don't like themselves. See, we see what we look for. That's what happens. It's a survival mechanism. That's how trauma works. And so it's for you to understand that these spiritual situations happen to help us. So it's again, but it's going to piss you off if you're dealing with this person, and that's the thing. And it's going to piss you off because you're going to see bad character every single time. Bad character where, and then that is getting caught up in that. So the best thing that you could do is say, how does this person feel if they were healthy, right? It's again, are they shady or is their intention to be good? Because a lot of times we just automatically think, no, the person's like fucked up. They're shady. Where a lot of times it's like, no, a person again gets in their own way and they have sabotaging behaviors. But it's not about you trying to fix them. It's just so you can see it differently, where you stop like trying to like fix or change or feel like something was wrong that you did when it really wasn't, and that it wasn't, but you're still like, well, the situation keeps happening, just with different situations. So when we see it through a spiritual perspective, we understand we're attracting that for a reason. So the best thing that we could do is to say, why am I attracting that into my life, and what can I do with the energy, and what would be the purpose? Because there's many different realities, and I don't like the reality that is keeping me in, because it's keeping me blocked to a perception of lack and limitation, and making me feel separate again. So spirit's saying, well, we have to let it go. So it's almost like a lot of times we get stuck in anger because we're stuck in seeing the situation, which is triggering you. And so this is why ruminating happens, where you're like so messed up and you get stuck in the story and you get mad when you think about the story. And it's like, it's really like, you're like, I don't even want to be attached to this person, but I'm attached to this person. So on an emotional level, I feel like I have feelings for this person, but I also don't have feelings for this person. I hate this person. So again, that fine line between love and hate, because of the rumination, because you're stuck in that perception of, you know, how they made you feel, what did it bring out in you, needed to be come out in of you. If you didn't have feelings, you wouldn't stick around long enough, right? That's the whole thing, where this person is stuck, where they're going to act like they don't care and they're just going to hold back, even though they know what they should do, but their self image is more important. And so we could say maybe they went through a divorce, or they lost the business, or there was some sort of transition in this person's life, right? So they're stuck in that perception of, lack and limitation and how they feel about themselves. So again, negative energy. So spirit says, well, we see why. Again, we got self-love. You got anchor, to me, is the same thing pretty much as protection. But we're going to put it all together. Don't worry. Time and attention, and rebellious, innocence, and magician. So I just feel like there wasn't really support where what anchor is supportive mother and father. What keeps us rooted when we're children is feeling supported. If we don't feel supported because our parents aren't getting along, or our parents aren't being nice to us, or whatever is going on karmically within the home, or just you might have been a highly sensitive person where you needed more support and it just wasn't there. And that could be, my parents weren't emotional and I was an emotional kid. Again, it's the child's self. And it doesn't even mean that your perception is the same. It's just the body and the mind have to hold on to perceptions. But it was like the lack of support where again, we're taught to love ourselves by how we're being treated, right? So, how well we take care of ourselves, how much time, energy, focus, and money you're investing in yourself to become yourself. Self love is that. It's not just, oh, I buy myself nice stuff. It's it means we're becoming ourselves. That we have a connection to our higher self, the God part of self, through creating ourselves and becoming ourselves through our passions, through our interests. If we don't have that area really, you know, rooted, where again that root chakra is that it's connected in who you are, which is why that second chakra and that first chakra work very much together. So the second chakra is your individuality, who you perceive that you are when you look in the mirror. And so if we have people that don't treat us well over time, we're not going to see ourselves well. Our environment creates our reality because it's how we begin to perceive ourselves. So again, not having that support. Now, sometimes our parents just needed to work or they were sick. There's all different reasons on why. But that trauma really does bring magic. But does that mean you know how to work your magic? No. Sometimes we have to find that magic. And that's hard to do if you were brought up by parents that really weren't around. And when they were around, they overcompensated by being very controlling, where it's like, how are you doing with your homework? How are you doing with your school? Do you do this? Do you do that? Where it's not really a friendship or it feels safe in that environment. It's more like you're taught to lie, you know, because you're feared for your life. So anything that you do, it was seen as it was like rebellious, where you weren't really rebellious, that was suppression. And it was suppression because that parent was fearful. They had to work, they had to do other things, they did the best that they could do. They knew that they should be doing a better job. They projected their anger. They didn't put the time and attention. So you didn't feel loved. So you didn't really love yourself. So what are you teaching people how to treat you? Spirit says, teaching people that through how you treat yourself, so the innocence was pretty much robbed, because when our parents are stressed out, they can't really allow you to be a child. The child then is on guard. It's again where they don't really feel supported to go out and find themselves and to create themselves. They're trying to get approval. And so again, we form these habits and behaviorisms when the chakras are being developed, which is from 0 to like 7 months old. That is when the root chakra is developed. So you wouldn't even remember, and pretty much by the time that you're 7 or 8, you have a pretty much a good idea whether or not you feel safe, whether your attachment styles to your parents were secure or not, right? So, or how safe you felt with just within your own body. You have a perception. Do you remember everything? No. Especially if there was no time and attention. There's no real memories. So there's like, I don't remember a lot. And it's because, well, a lot was you were detached, disassociated, because it doesn't feel good to not be supported and loved and nurtured. Children need that. They need that anchor. They need that support. Otherwise, they're not grounded. They're up in their head. They're too much in that, intuition, psychic mind. They're not in their body because they don't feel safe, which is again that protection. Where protection comes from feeling supported within ourself now, where understand, especially if you're attracting people that really aren't supporting you, they're not creating that environment for you. Spirit says you have to do it for yourself in order to attract it. So that's why you would attracted a person that is like emotionally they're holding back, because hey, that's what you felt. You felt like your parent held back that emotion, but they focused more on your schoolwork, on like you getting to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And if they were nervous and weren't really secure in creating that for themselves, they didn't want to have you make the same mistakes. So, unfortunately, anxiety looks a lot like anger. It's just anxiety, there's only two energies, love and fear. So I'm fearful. I wanted a good life. But sometimes our parents could scare us into wanting it, or we watch our parents not be as successful. So again, we inherit these traumas. It's not a blame game, but we have to bypass the reptilian mind in order to actually do the healing work, you know, which is embody a whole new consciousness. Because you have to see yourself differently. You're in physical form to learn and to manifest it. There's bigger reasons of why you're here. And so the real reason, again, is first and foremost, we can't do anything. We can't actually create anything, nothing, unless we integrate all facets of ourself, right? Like if we're there's fragmentation, what is going to happen is we're going to come more from that trauma, from because we're coming from the mask. And so again, the universe only really listens to what's real. So you can disguise it any way that you like, but the universe is going to say, "I know what's underneath that mask." You're not getting that sandwich that you want. You're going to get like a crappy sandwich that you don't want, because that's what's really in your heart, because the universe corresponds to what's in your heart. We can give and receive of love. We need to be the energy of love by embodying that energy. But if we're not, and we're just dealing with people that are holding back and making us feel a certain way, well, then we're expecting someone to give us that happiness, that love, where spirit says that's an inside job. You have to integrate those, again, traumas, because you're not going to go back in time. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can only move forward from this situation to get a better result. So you can transform. It's again, otherwise that fragmented energy state just stays inside of you as fear. And you attract more of the same, because the universe is going to say, hey, you haven't learned the lesson yet. So what you resist persists. Anything in God's going to say, well, I'm going to allow that because it keeps you separate from me. Your perception is you can't have when you can have, because you have supernatural powers inside of you that allow you to do that. You're a spiritual being before your human experience. So the more time and energy and focus and money you pour into becoming yourself, the path unfolds. It's again that everything is happening in divine time. You have to stand in that place of faith, though, and believe. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up in other people's perception. Spirit says, like, this is a hard one. This is a really hard one, because, hey, when you're fearful because you don't know, you're going to want to control. But Spirit says you have to release control, because God says you're not in control of how we get to your destination. Like you're allowed to say what you want. I want to become a millionaire. Spirit says no problem, but you're not allowed to say how we get there. You know, that might mean you're putting energy into things that aren't working all the time, where spirit says, so you have to be in the moment, in the now. Only in the now do you get divine guidance. Co-creation is about listening to the higher self, the God part of self, and having the universe conspire to bring you what you need in that perfect moment, but standing in faith in between. And most people react and they get in their own way, where spirit says, let go of the need to control things. Surrender to the process. Where spirit says, you're not going to like everything that I bring your way either. And you're going to be like, why would you do that? And spirit says, because it's karmic. Everything's learning. So no one can take what's yours. You can forfeit what's yours by having the wrong people in your life, by, again, settling for less, by dealing with that energy. It's like where you at least didn't. Now it's time to be bold and live true to yourself, because now I want you to be a magnet of who and what you want to come into your life. Live authentically, live out loud. Again, being around a person like that again, and growing up the way that you grew up, it's like, well, I had to do what other people wanted me to do. And Spirit says, yes, and that's not going to get you good results. What gives you good results is when you again are imagining it yourself. You have a passion, you have a desire, and then you're pouring into yourself to create a way where there is no way, because the universe is in really conspiring to bring everything to you in divine time. And so Spirit's saying things happen a lot slower in the physical realm. In the mind, everything's fast, but mastery comes in doing. That's why you see people that are really successful. They're like, oh, yeah, I started painting when I was 3. Oh, yeah, I went to join the Olympics when, I was preparing for it when I was like 1, or something ridiculous, like where you're like, okay, you didn't even like that. It's like where it's like they liked it, they were conditioned it. It's just what was the path for them, you know and it really was, because we tend to, if that wasn't the path, person would be like, I don't like this, I don't want to do this anymore. But this isn't that. Spirit says you have to take a leap of faith. Understand risks are going to be rewarding, and you're not going to see the path fully. You're not going to, because only in the now do you get divine guidance. Spirit says you're not going to know in advance, because you get in your own way. You'd be looking for it, instead of, again, just being in the flow and going with the flow of nature and the universe. That's really what you're doing when you're in the passion for life. You're going with the flow of nature. It doesn't mean that bad things aren't happening. It means that you deal with them when they happen, and spirit is guiding you in that moment. And you know that it's spirit, because it's the intuition of the higher self that there's always a call to action right after that intuition. It's not that mind chatter, and we just go. And so, where spirit's saying you don't need to be in charge of anything, you're always supported, you're always loved. Hey, Britt. So it's about that. So, and then I know that you're protected. And spirit is just saying one more thing, because once you have transformed it, which you actually did, needed to go through the experience to actually transform, then it's all about you knowing how strong you are, so that you can actually attract what you want into your life. It's that the feeling of not feeling strong, being around a person that's being around a parent that's not giving you emotionally, and then attracting a person that does that, where you're like, again, these people should. Well, they don't, but so you begin to expect that no one will. And spirit says, no, no, no. You're always going to get a person that's going to bring out that wound, that childhood wound, but it's to demand more. Because sometimes that's all that it takes for a person to be like, I'm going to come back. But if they've used to getting away with it for long periods of time, where it was on and off, which is kind of what I feel, well, then what winds up happening is that that person's like, I'm not going to change. So it's too difficult to change, because you teach a person right from the beginning, and that's through how you want to be treated. So we're going to leave off with one more message, and then I'll answer any questions that you have about the reading. I blocked him and didn't see him for 4 months, but I keep running back into him at random places. Well, it's so funny. It's like probably because he knows where you're going to be. It's like a lot of times with these relationships, it's all about control, you know, and that's, these people have abandonment issues. So they never have, they never give on an emotional level as much as they should. And then the thing is, if they have, they don't, where they haven't given you, but they've thought about you a lot, and but just haven't shown it. They don't realize how much they care until after you're gone. So it's not a coincidence. It's like, because when a person has feelings for you, The universe will conspire to bring that person back into your life, will run into, but sometimes it's just to get closure. It's like it's up to you, you know. But if you know what you get, it's like you don't, like, if you know what you had, chances are you wouldn't get anything different, because 4 months is enough time to do healing. Healing isn't just about how this person lost you, but it's what did they do to lose you? Because if they don't fully understand that, which a lot of times they don't because they're not as present as they should be, has nothing to do with you, just has to do with trauma. But, and them in their own whatever, they have to learn. Otherwise, we tend to take people back that we have these feelings for over and over and over again, because we're like, I know that that person loves me. I know that they care about me. Yeah, and Spirit says, yes. It's like, you're right. Exactly what you feel. But then why the fuck does it look that way? And Spirit says, because I have spiritual blocks. And you're like, so I have to like be in pain for it. And Spirit says, no, you don't have to. But then you're like, but then I can't be with the person. And Spirit says, you have to do something different. It's not all or nothing. It's like, don't lose yourself in the process. Most people tend to lose themselves in the process of trying to control, where really it's not about control. If a person's meant to be in your life, they will figure out a way to be in your life, but it's not about you giving up your life, because karmic means that. It's like we tend to associate it with, this person messed up my life. Where Spirit says, no, you messed up your life. No one has control over you. It's like it's not all or nothing. You have to teach a person through the standards that you hold, because this person doesn't even treat themselves right. And then you're expecting you need to treat yourself right so that this person will say, oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, okay. It's like no, then they'll say, you know what? Well, I should do that for myself too. Why am I just doing it for you? Because passion will make a person do whatever. Believe me. But if it's not channeled appropriately, what you got is an on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, very toxic relationship. That's petty, but you have to raise above, which is, hey, I'm in my passions. It's like, I don't care whether you're here or they're not. I don't care. That surrenders the ego. And that's why a lot of times when a person breaks up, you're like, okay, why are you showing back up in my life all the time? Why are you all of a sudden here? Because it's not that the desire is not there. I think the emotions that they have. And people that have trauma can manifest really easy because they can go into that detached, disassociated realm easy, which means I don't care one way or the other. It's like I'm just kind of focusing on it. And oh, now this person's coming back. I don't even like them now. And that's what happens. And then that's what happens, Spirit says a lot of times. So it'll irritate you. So we leave off with one more message from that, and then I will read your comments. Elevation. Free yourself from fear and trust the universe. Direct your thoughts to the beauty inside and around you, and use your spiritual strength and knowledge to create light and rise above doubt, is what Spirit's saying. It's like, that's how we're going to end this one. Now, answer Steve questions. I blocked him and didn't see him for 4 months. They kept running into him. Like, it's just explained why that happens. And then I have a question I'm unsure about. I don't know if you remember about me telling you about my ex and my mom. Well, I last wrote him letting him know there is uh, that, like, I told you to like close the chapter a long time ago on that relationship. You don't need to ask me. If you need to say, do I need to close a chapter? Well, you need to close a chapter. Does that mean that you wouldn't have feelings? The problem is that, yeah, you still have feelings. You just can't turn it off. And that person might not take you seriously. So it's hard to stick to something without replacing it with something else. you're acting like you're not sure when you know, but then there's also this emotional connection of, I don't really want to let go of that because, of that reason. So you want it, but you don't want it. So, with alchemy, you need to always, put something in its place. It's like if you had an addiction of smoking, a lot of people just don't stop smoking. They start chewing gum. They do something to replace that. Otherwise, it's that the type of connection that you had was toxic connection. So it's not like the person going to be like, oh, you left. Okay, I'm not going to be toxic anymore. If anything, it's going to trigger their fear of abandonment. It might trigger your fear of abandonment. And then we have a shit show just happening where you're like, this always happens, where spirit's saying it's like, it's about that. Well, that's the thing. It's like you'll always, Layla, like to like notice that that will always happen in relationship until you integrate it. And so like the same karmic themes continue to play out, which is what makes you feel like my life isn't working when life really is working. It's that it's working from the perception that you're giving it. So without actually integrating the spiritual lesson, those feelings will always come up. It's like they're your emotions are the gateway to spiritual healing. So, doing things like shadow work is helpful. You know, that's what it is. It's very common to like attract. Just know it's this is what happens. You attract people that reflects that trauma. And so when you had a bad relationship with your parents, that's what it is. Because as children, we want to be loved, we want to be accepted. The attachment style is hugely important, because if we didn't get the appropriate kind, then we keep attracting the same types of people. And then when we actually get the attachment style that we like, we don't really even know how to deal with it. So, trauma is something that you have to work through. You have to understand how it's affecting you, how it's coming out in your behaviorisms, and you have to do something to integrate the spiritual lesson. Otherwise, you stay stuck in the karmic loop. And that's what makes you perceive that you're separate from your creator and that you're separate from being able to create the life and the life experiences that you want to have. When that's not true, you're stuck, you're blocked. That's what spiritually blocked means. So that's why I have shadow healing. So you can check out my shadow healing coaching program. If you're someone that does better on a one-to-one, I do offer one-to-one sessions. We also offer psychic readings. And a lot of times that's if you're going to a good healer, you should be able to go once a year, like really even longer. I have clients that come to me once every like 2 3 years, because the information that I'm giving them, and they're living that life, they're seeing results. The whole point is to get strong within yourself, not always be reliant. We know when something's working and when something isn't. We tend to not like the answer that we're feeling intuitively, and we're like, oh, please tell me something, or tell me how I can change whatever is happening. And you can change, but we get stuck in, again, being able to access our own higher self. It's like, I can't read for myself. It's like, and that's because you get overstimulated. The emotions, which by the way is also a trained condition of having to figure things out on your own when you were too young, without that support. All right. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone else. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I will, try and be on later. Otherwise, I'll try and put up another video. I do have shadow coaching, I think, today at 4 o'clock. So if you're someone that is interested in shadow healing, I always do a topic and I channel about that topic for 10 to 15 minutes. And then we go into the oracle spread, see how that channel is actually playing out, whatever that karmic theme is, which I don't even know the karmic theme that I put up today. And then we do a healing modality, Q&A, obviously in between everything, and very interactive, because healing the effects of trauma is not a one and done thing. It's just habits and behaviorisms that make us perceive. So healing doesn't feel good because we tend to be automatic. So healing in a group is kind of therapeutic and fun, I just think. And when it's done with oracle cards, it's not as serious. But, you know, if you're looking for something more serious, I do offer something like that. But I feel like this is a great way to have spiritual hygiene, and right now we really need to have that, which with what's going on within the world. I mean, the spiritual warfare, which we're seeing everywhere, which is kind of like attacks like us on a spiritual level, making us again perceive that we're something that we're not, and that we can't have when really we can, that we're not separate. But we've come to a place within our evolution that we have to really learn how to incorporate this information into our lives to stay spiritually clean. All right, I'm going to leave that there. Until next time, be true to you, love yourself. Remember, you teach people how you want to be treated by how you treat yourself. Talk to you later. Bye bye.